Today, we're going to talk about 5 really powerful psychological tricks that your brain is using like right now. These are the little hidden programs that shape your decisions and what you believe, and most of the time, you don't even have a clue they're running. But first, let me ask you a kind of big question. Is the world that you see and feel, is it the real world, or is it maybe just a really convincing story that your brain is telling you? You got to get your head around this idea to see how these tricks actually work. Okay, so let's dive in. To get these tricks, we first have to talk about the stage they're playing on, which is your consciousness. The best way to think about it is that your brain is like a world-class bouncer at a nightclub, deciding exactly what gets in and what has to stay outside.
Yeah, so this brings us to this amazing idea called the filter theory of consciousness. Basically, the theory goes that your brain doesn't create your reality, it filters it. Imagine this giant ocean of information out there, and your brain just lets this tiny, tiny trickle through that you actually get to experience. And its main job isn't showing you the truth, it's just keeping you alive.
So to get through the day without being totally overwhelmed, your brain develops these automatic shortcuts. Psychologists have a great name for it, the click-whir response. Something in the world acts as a trigger, that's the click, and then, like a tape player, a whole sequence of behavior just runs automatically. That's the whir. Super efficient, right? But it also leaves us wide open to being influenced. And that, right there, brings us to the main event. We're going to look at 5 of these unconscious shortcuts that can be used to influence you. So get ready to see your world just a little bit differently. First up, we have a shortcut that's all about price. There's this famous story about a jewelry store that just could not sell these turquoise pieces. So by accident, someone doubled the price. And suddenly, the whole collection sold out like immediately. You see, the customers didn't know much about turquoise, so their brains just use a simple shortcut. Click, the price is high, whir, the quality must be good. And we do this all the time with everything from wine to cars. Okay, number 2 is the rule of reciprocity. And this one is so powerful. The classic example is the Hare Krishna Society. They'd come up to you, give you a flower you never asked for, and then refuse to take it back. And only then would they ask for a donation. By becoming a benefactor before beggar, they trigger this really deep-seated need in us to repay a debt. You feel like you have to give something back, even for a gift you didn't even want. All right, trick number 3 is the consistency trap. Now, if you're a parent, you've probably felt this. Ever promised your kid a specific toy for Christmas, and what do you know, it's sold out everywhere? Well, it turns out some toy companies actually plan for this. They intentionally understock a popular toy because they know you'll come back after the holidays to buy it. Why? Because we have this powerful psychological need to be consistent with our promises. Click, I made a promise. Whir, I have to follow through. Okay, look at this number, 95%. What could this possibly represent? Well, it's actually the key to understanding our next psychological shortcut. This number, 95%, it points to this principle called social proof. The idea is that most of us, well, we're imitators. We're social creatures, and when we're not sure what to do, we just look around and see what everyone else is doing. That's why ads are always telling you a product is the fastest growing or the #1 seller. They don't have to prove it's good. They just have to prove that other people think it's good. And that brings us to our final trick, number 5, scarcity. Limited time only, while supplies last. You know the drill. These phrases tap right into our fear of missing out. The psychology behind it is that we absolutely hate to lose our freedoms. So when something becomes scarce, our freedom to have it is threatened, and our desire for it just goes through the roof. So, okay, we've seen how all these automatic triggers work. But here's the good news. Just being aware of them is the first huge step toward taking back control. The real key is just knowing when it's time to switch off the autopilot in your brain. So what can you actually do? Well, the next time you feel that sudden pull to buy something or to return a favor or to just go along with the crowd, just pause, take a second. Recognize that one of those click-whir responses is probably firing off. Ask yourself, do I really want this or do I just feel pressured because the deal ends today? If you can learn to separate the tactic from the actual offer, you're golden. That little conscious check-in, that's your best defense. And that brings us right back to where we started. These 5 tricks are so effective precisely because our brains are always taking shortcuts, always filtering reality to help us get by. And that leaves us with one last, kind of unsettling question. If these are just the shortcuts that we know about, what else is your brain filtering out? What aren't you seeing?